The crowd is full of energy here, just waiting to see their Democratic candidate take the stage behind me as New Mexico's next governor. First, we want to give you a look at this long line of patrol cars out here surrounding City Hall. As people begin to process what happened yesterday, more and more stories are coming out about the heroes in it all. Leaving that insurance information in your glove box is not a good idea.
I'm going to stay hopeful.
There we go.
I'm liking the cooler temps.
Yeah.
It's about time.
So you can see over here how much of it is piled up after clearing the entrance to a gas station in this area. So even though the state's public records law allowed for the release of hundreds of partially redacted PED licensure investigations, PED would not talk about them. But if the public has questions about the decisions that PED made, no one will answer to that.
I think in certain cases, when specific questions come through the public records request process.
How often is an arrest actually ending in a conviction and a tougher prison sentence? Here's what data from the state's Administrative Office of the District Attorney shows. The night started with the excitement of a Lobo basketball game inside the pit. Outside, it ended in frantic calls for help.
911 emergency?
Yeah, we have a pedestrian hit by a car right in front of the pit.
Yes, we've seen everything. The guy was crossing and the lady just drove and hit him.
Okay. All right. They're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Shut traffic down, put rescue right here.
He was everybody's dream. As a human being and as a husband, as a father, a grandfather, a friend.
Kay White is left only with stories and pictures.
Oh, that's a good picture. That's her dad.
Of her husband of 45 years, Jay White. The former APS elementary school teacher graduated from UNM. And as a loyal Lobo fan, he had basketball season tickets.
So it's hard to take it in, what happened. Because he just went out to enjoy a ball game, you know?
That night, nearly 2 years ago, Kay was tired and stayed behind at home.
I was right there.
Her husband never returned to join her. A driver hit and killed the 74-year-old as he used the crosswalk at Avenida Cesar Chavez in Bradbury, just west of University, on his way home from the game.
You feel like this could have been prevented?
Absolutely, 100%.
Kay is suing the city and UNM for negligence, saying records show both parties knew the crosswalk was dangerous and did nothing about it.
They need to fix it ASAP. I do not want anybody else wearing my shoes.
The police report from the November 2016 crash says it wasn't the driver's fault.
We just went home. We're just driving.
It was just after 8:30 at night, and she told police she didn't see the crosswalk. This is what it looked like. The lawsuit points to the faded striping, no warning signs before the crosswalk, no traffic lights, and the only sign blocked by a line of trees. We wanted to know who decided to put a crosswalk here in the first place and what they did to make sure it was safe. But the city cited pending litigation and said no one would talk, not about this or about its general procedures to install and maintain crosswalks. The city also denied a records request for you to see its public emails on the matter, emails they provided in discovery as part of the lawsuit. News 13 obtained those and emails from UNM from Kay's attorney instead. They show then athletic director Paul Krebs called for all the crosswalks outside the pit to get restriped before basketball season. He even suggested flashing signs because it was, quote, dark and hard to see people directing traffic. The response he got from Senior Associate AD for Facilities, Scott Dotson, was, sorry, I have dropped the ball on getting the crosswalks painted before basketball season. That was 2 weeks before Jay's death. UNM declined our request for an interview. Emails the attorney gave us from the city reveal a debate over whether this crosswalk should even be here. In one, a traffic engineer wrote, the city doesn't support mid-block crosswalks. With no stop signs or traffic signals, they give the pedestrian a false sense of security and don't change driver behavior. In another email, the engineer claims to have warned against some of the crosswalks outside the pit before Jay's death, saying the city installed them despite the written objection of traffic engineers.
A decision was made to place it there in 2010. The decision wasn't backed up
by an engineering or traffic study, wasn't backed up by an engineer's sound judgment, and there it is.
The city generally follows these national guidelines, which would call for an engineering study in a case like this. But the city says it has no records of doing a study here. Emails from 2010 show UNM proposed the crosswalk, and the acting director of municipal development at the time, Michael Reardon, approved it. In explaining why, Reardon wrote, "The crosswalk will be used mostly during games with police presence." But when Jay left the game a little early in 2016, officers were not at the crosswalk. The city has since restriped the crosswalk and put up these signs that continuously flash whether someone's crossing or not. Still, the city of Albuquerque denies negligence, and as it continues to fight this lawsuit, it could soon get hit with another.
I love my baby girl. She will always be my princess, and something that I used to always tell her is we're going to be best friends forever.
The mother of 12-year-old Eliza Justine Almuina hired an attorney after a driver hit and killed her daughter as she used a crosswalk outside Cleveland Middle School earlier this year.
There are lights, but they are not. There is striping, but it's not visible.
Who should be held accountable?
Well, certainly the city of Albuquerque has responsibility in maintaining traffic devices.
In this case, the city has spoken up about the need to take action.
This is a tragedy that should never happen, and I think what's so important is that we make sure that we're doing everything we can so that it doesn't happen in the future.
City Council voted to create a task force to take a closer look at crosswalks near Albuquerque elementary and middle schools. And this one outside Cleveland Middle School has already been converted into a hawk signal, which stops drivers with a red light as people cross. But Kay is still waiting. Nearly 2 years after her husband's death, she's still hoping the city will do a traffic study or install a stop sign or signal here to ensure the safety of the thousands of fans going to games at the pit.
I know my husband's not coming back. That's a given. But I don't want anybody. I don't want his death to be in vain, and I don't want anybody to get hurt.
On special assignment, Lysée Mitri, KRQE News 13.
Mitchell, you need to lay on the ground now. I got Marines here that will kill you. Get on your stomach.
Mitchell Rockwood has had dozens of encounters like this one last year.
I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna hurt your family the way you threatened mine.
With Albuquerque police over the last 2 decades, mugshot after mugshot has made the news, but his mom says the public isn't getting the full picture.
It's humiliating. It's embarrassing because the community doesn't understand mental health.
She says Rockwood threatened to commit suicide at just 6 years old, that he's been diagnosed as bipolar and autistic and has delusions about police.
His paranoia with the police, he'll call 911 and tell them he's going to come down and smash out their windows. He likes to throw rocks and call 911.
He's been behind bars on charges of battery on a police officer. 911 calls for false claims and disorderly conduct. But time after time, charges are dismissed after he's found incompetent to stand trial. He's released until it happens all over again.
He needs help. He doesn't need to be let out into the streets.
She's thankful, though, for people like Detective Bonnie Briones with APD's Crisis Intervention Unit, who's assigned to Rockwood's case.
Everything we've tried in the past, taking him to the hospital, taking him to jail, getting him services, getting him housing, case management, anything like that has not worked.
This time, there's another option, she says. He's been in jail for a year since his most recent arrest, but this summer, Rockwood was found to be developmentally disabled and not treatable to competency. The district attorney's office and police say his developmental issues qualify him under state law to be civilly committed, which they say would allow him the services he desperately needs, like going to a secure group home in Belen because he can't live on his own.
Now we've gotten to the point where we can have this treatment option for him. We can break this cycle.
If Mitch doesn't go, he'll be back in jail in a week. He won't last. He won't last.
Because Rockwood's charges don't include serious violent offenses like murder or rape, it's at the state health secretary's discretion. And in an email last week, the Department of Health denied the request, saying he's not appropriate for such commitment.
They pointed to the county, saying Rockwood might try assisted outpatient treatment, but his family and police say they've already exhausted all other options.
He needs the stability of full-time care, and he needs the stability of seeing the same people over and over and over and over.
Do you see any other option at this point?
not at this point.
His family is making one final plea, hoping the state will reconsider before Rockwood gets into a deadly encounter with police.
Do we really want that all over the news instead of his mugshots?
I'm afraid that either Mr. Rockwood or a citizen of Albuquerque or a police officer will get hurt.
It's a terrible situation for them and for him.
On special assignment, Lysée Mitri, KRQE News 13. House after house, business after business, the same ones we see on our way to work or home, we also see in movies and television.
Could he meet you and your husband at, say, Loyola's Cafe on Central?
UNM.
Kit Carson Elementary.
Here in Corrales, it started with a note on the gate. A film crew interested in this house to shoot a dinner scene 3 years ago wanted to turn New Mexico into Mexico.
Our house was supposed to be in Nogales.
Lynn Mosier says at first she wasn't sure.
Like, I don't know if we want to.
It would mean dozens of people at her house and equipment all over the neighborhood.
We had just moved in to the house too, and we're like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Filmmakers usually discover houses like Mosier's that fit right into the storyline of their scripts through location scouts like Cindy McCrossan.
It's kind of a needle in a haystack, you know, finding the particular spot that would work for a show.
She's worked on hits like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and In Plain Sight.
I cold call, I knock on doors, I leave little notes for people to find.
But she grew up in Albuquerque.
So I think about places that I know I'm familiar with.
Places with distinct characteristics, she says. When a production finds a house, they usually pay to use the space.
I've seen as low as $500 a day to, several $1,000s a day.
She says commercials or independent smaller projects will be on the lower end, while big blockbuster movies could pay closer to $4,000 a day. Plus, they'll put you up in a hotel during the shoot. The excitement and the money have people trying to increase their chances of getting noticed.
Well, welcome to Casa de Siesta. This is my little vacation rental.
Richard Aragon listed his downtown property as a potential filming location on the New Mexico Film Office's website.
I don't think a lot of people know about it.
The database shows pictures and addresses of more than 6,000 locations throughout the state. Homes, businesses, and even cars.
I haven't heard anything yet, to be honest with you. I'm still hoping that someone will give us a call.
Tagged, a popular murder mystery web series that follows teens tagged in a disturbing online video, films all over Albuquerque.
And action.
So we went to see the crew in action while they filmed outside and inside a home in Northeast Albuquerque for their third season.
What the house really had were these great wood built-in pieces.
Otherwise, line producer Melanie Kirk says the tagged crew had to bring in everything to tailor it to their script.
All the furniture, the pictures, everything that are in it are something that we brought in or created ourselves.
Here's all the equipment coming into the house.
This is what Mosier's house looked like in August 2014 after she agreed to let the movie crew move in.
They changed every single light bulb in this house.
All for the movie Sicario. FBI! Starring Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin, and Benicio del Toro.
So this hallway, they ended up filming down here, and Benicio came out of this area and shot a man right there.
Because his scene was at her house, she did get to meet him briefly and even got an autograph. And she learned what she initially thought would be a quick dinner scene was actually one of the most tense turning points at the end of the movie.
Mosier says the crew was here for 2.5 weeks to film the dramatic scene at the dinner table. Then she had to wait about a year until she saw it on the big screen.
No fue personal, para mí sí.
Oh, we couldn't wait to see it. We just couldn't wait.
Mosier says the crew paid the Homeowners Association and neighbors to use their driveways and change the lighting, and they invited neighbors to eat from the food provided for the cast and crew.
We had a full-time coffee lady out in front, 24 hours a day, full-time EMT.
She says the crew made note of a few nicks on the wall, a crack in the tile, and got it fixed.
It was a very good experience for us. It was a long 2.5 weeks, not gonna lie, but it was a lot of fun.
Fun to see Hollywood at work right in our own backyard here in New Mexico. On special assignment, Lysée Mitri, KRQE News 13.